Well, Happy New Year and welcome back, my friends, to the Mailright Real Estate Agent Podcast Show. You are joining us in our New Year episode, which is episode 128, the first of 2018. And today we're going to do a quick recap of our 2017 in review and maybe a couple comments about our upcoming year for the show. I want to thank you for joining us. And I'm going to turn things over to my co-host, Jonathan Denwood, for a quick introduction, and then we'll take it away.
Hi there, folks. Happy New Year. We've been having some technical troubles with this first show of the new year. Let's hope that it doesn't continue, Thomas.
All right. And I'm Thomas J. Nelson with Big Block Realty in San Diego, California, residential real estate. And you can find me at thomasjnelsonrealtor.com. All right. So, Jonathan, we were going to review some of the guests that stood out in maybe it was either because the guests themselves were dynamic or the content they brought with them. And I know that one of the guests that stood out to you was one of the interviews that you brought us. So I'm going to let you kick it off and tell us one of the folks that was a 2017 highlight for you.
Yeah, like I was saying, Thomas, I thought Dave Lawrence from Follow Up Boss, I thought that was a really great interview, and we both really hit it off. And Dave, you know, I really admire what Follow Up Boss have managed to build, because I'm attempting to not build something that directly is in competition with them, but something that has similar amount of work required. And it's just a great product that they've built, and I just think they're a great team. And I think Dave had some really good points about online marketing and the new landscape where it comes to marketing yourself effectively as a real estate professional, and what's required now to really generate those leads consistently to make your business truly successful, Thomas.
Yeah, I would agree, because one of the things I took away from Dave's interview was being consistent with your people. I know there's a stat that National Association Realtors puts out that 88% of the people interviewed would work with their realtor again, but less than 11% do because they forget about their realtor. They forget who it was after a period of time. And that falls on us as realtors. We're not staying in touch. So it's not only consistency with your marketing and your branding for prospecting, but it's the consistency that you need to have with your current and sold clients, because they're all diving into their lives. You've sold them a house, or you've helped them move, and they're going to get on with their lives. And if we don't give them those gentle reminders, we're not going to be top of mind. And then they're open to suggestion the next time they need a realtor.
Yeah, funny enough, I was looking at a video over the holiday period from Tom Ferry, and he was really talking about that. He was actually saying, Tom, that he has loads of people come to him and say, what customer management system should they use? And he turns around to them and he says, it doesn't really matter. What matters is the reasons why you're using it. And I totally agree. And I'll put a link in the show notes to that video, because I think a lot of people in the industry really struggle with this whole concept of growing your database, keeping in contact with it, and really doing things that really generate real leads. Because I know a couple of agents that really do a lot of stuff online, Thomas, and but they don't really generate the kind of leads from it that they should do.
Yeah, it's one thing to generate the leads, but it's another thing to actually work the leads and be able to have some sort of a system that automates yet targets responses to those leads. In other words, you don't want to be sending out generalized information when you have buyers, you have sellers, you have military, you might have seniors versus first-time buyers. Your message needs to cater to the specific groups. So one of the things you need to do with your groups is categorize who they are, so you know what message you want to be sending them. So, and
Yeah,
those are all,
that's something I've kind of hammered to death, wasn't it? Categorization. But I
yeah.
also think it also touches on another subject that we discussed on and off throughout the whole of 2017, was that if you can niche, I call it nicheify. It's actually not a word. It's a word I made up, but it's actually, actually finding a target audience in your area, based on geography, age, segment, doesn't really matter, but it's finding that niche that you can really focus, because I really think that really helps with all your marketing, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, tomato, tomato. I hear a lot of people pronounce it niche because they like to use the phrase "there's riches in the niches," and that's because once you've done your research, though, I mean, it may be great that I want to work with over 50-year-old golfers, but if I don't live anywhere near a golf community, that's not going to serve me well either. So you got to do your homework on within the categories that you want to serve. Is there enough of that category in your market area to serve and sustain a business and grow your business from? And you're right. I mean, you and I can't tell you how many, I would say at least 25-30% of our guests hammered that home last year, which was having target markets and having niches to focus on, and not trying to be the realtor to all people, but to a very specific group, because from that referrals will come. You'll get referrals outside of
Well,
your
well,
group from that.
yeah, because what happens is that your content, your marketing, your content on your website, your general marketing, will be very shallow.
Right.
It will be at a certain level, but it won't encourage, and you just find the whole process will be a lot harder. But if you can find these niches, like you say, but it's got to suit, it's got to be a market that's there in your local area. Another guest, I wasn't part of the interview, but I thought you did a great job, was Gregory Hughes, of the founder of Stop Zillow campaign.
Oh,
I thought that
Haig.
was a fantastic. Haig, sorry, I apologise. I think that was a great interview that you did there.
Thanks. Yeah, Greg and I have stayed in touch. I've actually took over the holiday break. I took a significant training with Greg's luxury market training, but and Greg used the Stop Zillow campaign to get attention to the problem that he was trying to solve. He's since renamed it the Plan to Save our industry, or the Plan to Save real estate, because he wanted to give it a positive spin once he got enough light shined on it. But he basically is trying to take back the ability to control the inventory and the buyers that is on the internet, so that it's still out there, it's still accessible, but we're controlling it, not third parties. NAR in their infinite wisdom gave away our biggest asset, our brand, the realtor brand. We don't even own that as realtors anymore. And Zillow has become the number one stop for home buyers, yet they have inaccurate information. Their leads are stepped on by multiple realtors. So what Greg's saying is, look, it's a free market. He bears no ill feelings towards these other parties, and there's more coming. But what he's trying to say is, let's take back control of our inventory and the buyers, and not be dependent on third parties so much for our pipelines, for our source of business, for our leads, for our prospects. Because otherwise you're beholden to them. And whatever, if your whole marketing plan and your whole pipeline is Zillow, you're beholden to Zillow. Yeah, I mean, whatever Zillow wants to charge for those leads, they can, because they've got you. Whatever they want you to charge for your services, they can, because if you don't comply, they can turn off the faucet. I mean, you're giving a lot of power away. And that's what Greg's big point is. It's not saying, hey, I don't like the fact that Zillow's here. He's just saying that why are we giving them so much of the spotlight when they don't even have the information correct? They don't have the boots on the ground out in each marketplace that we are to our clients. We're the experts. Zillow is just essentially a computer program, a logarithm but it's a brilliant marketing machine, and we need to get brilliant with our marketing, which is what we've been talking about throughout our podcasts over the last year and a half that I've been with you, is empowering realtors to be in control of their business and not give up so much of that control. And a soapbox.
I think there's actually something even bigger than that. Actually, I was talking to a couple of agents over the Christmas New Year period, and this sense of secrecy that we got this. And what I mean by that is that if I was agent in a new market entering, I moved and I didn't know anybody, or if I was trying to establish a real online, I'm going to say something that might shock you a little bit. I've said a few things that have shocked you, Thomas, haven't I? But I might even shock you now. Is that I would really become the promoter of all properties in my niche sector.
Yeah.
I would promote to death other people, other agents in my area's properties that suited my niche.
All right.
I would become the place, my website would become the place for people to find properties and information that help them in their purchase of their property connected to that niche.
No, you're absolutely right. And I think that the important point to make, though, is in doing that, we're not going to compete with Zillow. They're just too big. But what we can do is really drill down on what you're saying in that niche so that you do become the expert in that zip code, in that neighborhood, all things that marketplace, because then you have a place to focus. When you're blogging, when you're posting articles, when you're out and about doing maybe your video, your localism, it gives you a point of focus instead of, for me to try to cover all of San Diego. That's what I'm not, there's not enough days in the year to do that. So I need to pick a neighborhood and I need to drill down on that, or I need to pick a demographic and drill down on that. And that's where we can compete with Zillow and become, Zillow can be part of your marketing plan. It's not saying that you shouldn't. It's just saying don't put all your eggs in that basket or you're giving up complete control of your business. And the thing I can't stress enough is the only equity we have in our business is our database. That's the only thing that we have sellable. Unless you're selling a brick and mortar building and the furniture in it, the only equity we have as business owners in real estate is our database. I wanted to also remind people that if you are interested in this, it's a very positive campaign. You can make up your own mind. It's the plantosaverealestate.com. It's also on Facebook, the Plan to Save Real Estate. And the gentleman's name is Greg Hague, spelled Hague. Check it out for yourself. Make up your own mind.
That's great. Is there a guest you want to bring up, or shall we go for our break and then we come back and talk about a couple of people that stuck in your mind? Yeah, let's go. We're going to keep this short and sweet, folks, but hopefully we're not boring. I don't think we are. It's just a good way of talking a little bit more about some of the key subjects. So we're going to go for our break, folks. We'll come back and we're going to delve in a couple of more of our guests that kind of stuck in our mind back in a minute. We're coming back. I think we've had a good conversation for the start of the new year. So do you want to take any guest that's stuck in your mind?
Yeah. Well, there's a few, but I'll start out with one of the guests I'm just super proud that we got in, and we got him in twice, once in 2016 and once in 2017, and that was Michael E. Gerber of the E-Myth. I mean, this is the guy who wrote the E-Myth, which by the time I got a hold of it was called the E-Myth Revisited. And Michael Gerber's book is what launched my entrepreneurial career. Reading that book set the tone for the last 35 years of my life. And I think he was an amazing guest just because obviously he had some celebrity status, but more so at his age. I mean, he's in his early 80s and he's still just full of, excuse the term, but piss and vinegar. He's just on fire. And that inspired me to see a guy that really doesn't.
He's on fire, isn't he?
Yeah, he does not. I mean, he's not a guy that needs to publish another book. He's not a guy that needs to really do anything else to create income. Yet he's still out fighting in the trenches, trying to help people systematize their businesses and make them scalable so that they're sellable. And he's super passionate about that. And so that to me was an inspiration because you know, I'm heading into, I'm going to turn 50 this year, and I'm thinking, here's a guy in his early 80s. So that gave me hope for the next 35 years of my next chapter because I just loved his energy and his passion. And of course, he had come out with a new book, a new E-Myth book series, and he's still going strong with the dreaming rooms and producing excellent training. So that's one of the ones that stood out to me. Did you have any comments about Michael?
Oh, he's just, you know, he's still a really sharp cookie, isn't he? He's still on fire.
Yes.
You could see why he became a successful business coach, author, entrepreneur. You could see it clearly in his persona. I think what the key things about, if you take the totality of everything he's written and tried to encapsulate one key message, which is ridiculous really, but I'm going to attempt it, is that it's really understanding why you're successful, understanding the processes in your business that led to your success in business, and then encapsulating those in processes, normally by writing those processes down, and then being able to get other people and making a small team or a medium team or a large team, but encapsulating those processes that somebody who's not you can really get the same success level with removing the personal element of yourself from the process.
Yes. Yeah.
And
because I mean, you only have a job until you've been able to step away from the business, and the business still runs itself with these people that you've put in place through these systems. So I mean, until if when you walk away, the money stops coming in, you just have a job, and that's what Michael is sharing with us in his latest book, Beyond the E-Myth. What he was really trying to tie together was how to take, once you do systematize successfully your business, then how to turn it into something that's scalable and sellable so that you can not only step away from the daily operations, but one day retire from it and still have equity enough in the business to be an attractive purchase for someone else to carry it on.
And the other thing is, I totally agree with what you just said, but even before that stage, the more understanding and the more you can process your activities, especially in today's environment for the agent, small boutique brokerage, where time and stress levels are pretty high, and the lack of time is also high, is the more you can process this and write it down and turn it into a process, the less stressful your life's going to be. And unfortunately, I've observed with a lot of agents, and it's linked, I've got the lady's name, the counsellor, I forgot her name. She's been on the show twice, hasn't she? The lady from Canada.
Oh, Kim Addis.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's a bit linked to that because consciously and also subconsciously, I think a lot of agents cannot achieve that.
No.
Because it's almost like there's part of them that doesn't want it.
No, they don't. And that's okay. I mean, that, it's not to say that everyone has to create a business that is systematized, scalable, and sellable. But even if you don't want to sell your business, even if you don't want to hire employees, going through the exercise of this is just going to make it a lot easier for you in the long run. So, I mean, it's not, the end game doesn't have to be to sell it or to have a big team. You could be the solo person, but you still in real estate have a team. I mean, I have title, escrow, lender, underwriter, and so on and so forth. And it would be nice to know how to orchestrate them in a more cohesive way, so that we're all playing off the same sheet of music every escrow we're in, for example. But it's funny. You gave me a great segue, Jonathan, because Kim Addis is actually one of the other standout guests that we had. We obviously had her back twice, and I just think we've talked to a lot of coaches, especially in 2017. We talked to quite a few people that coach and train, but she stood out because I think she comes from such a different place. And it's getting down to the root cause of why we behave the way we do, and understanding that we run our lives and run our businesses and interact with other people through our own filters. And those filters are created by certain experiences, or as she says, which I thought was simple but brilliant, is what's the story you're telling yourself? Because you're the only one hearing that story that way. The rest of the world is seeing the story a different way. And understanding that and getting out of your own way and getting out of your own head trash, I call it. And so she was another one that raised a lot of questions for me. I always love a guest that when we're done with them, I want to follow up with them and pry more into what we were talking about off air. So she was definitely one of them. And it seems like she was for you too, because you just brought her up.
Well, because I just noticed, I noticed with some of my, because I do see them as family, and I've probably spent too much time in discussions without charging. But that's part of a startup, and it's a part of the process of educating myself about real estate. And that's one of the reasons why I do this podcast. It's not only to promote Wellright, but educate myself and immerse myself in real estate, because I'm not an active real estate agent, unlike you. But I think I've had a very rapid online training for the past 18 months, speaking to all these guests and all these experts.
I would agree. It's been an incredible education interviewing these people, because, in some cases, they're folks that you probably wouldn't approach outside of the world of being a podcast host, because we're always looking for interesting educational guests that are doing something different or doing something remarkably well, even though it might be a time and tested, at this point, internet marketing. Most people know about it, but there are people that are doing it better than others, and those are the people we want on the show. But outside of the context of being a podcast host, in the real world, I wouldn't be spending the time talking to a lot of these people unless I was purchasing their product. So I think we've gotten a great insight into the mind of not only the people and the service they provide, but in some cases the backstory of what was the mind that even came up with this idea and got it out to the marketplace, because that in itself is what stops a lot of people in real estate. You can have that paralysis of analysis. You might be great at learning things, but if you don't apply it, it's just entertainment. You got to put action behind the education. Otherwise, you're just entertaining yourself.
Another guest that kind of stuck in my mind, you weren't part of the interview, you had to take that episode off, was an agent called Ricky Carew from its episode 108. And it's he's based in Orange Beach, I think it's Alabama. And what struck me about Ricky's interview is looking back, I didn't realise this at the time, he was applying all the things we've just been talking about at the first half of the show. He's really focused on a target audience, a niche. He's the leading producer in his area when it comes to apartments. They are second homes, they're holiday homes normally, or investments. And he's the leading agent. He's the man in that area, if you're looking to buy an apartment in that area, you go to Ricky. And he's kind of establishing himself. And also, he through the interview, he made it really clear that he's merciless about keeping in touch with past clients or people that have had any kind of business dealings with him by consistently, not every month, but utilizing his electronic systems, keep in touch with these people at different levels and segmentizing his database. Everything we discussed Ricky was doing, and that's why I think he had produced over 100 transactions in 2016, which is a lot for somebody that is like you, who's got a virtual team. That shows to me, and he didn't look totally destroyed by the process. So that suggests to me that it's also linked to what we just discussed with Michael, that he's got processes as well.